Marlon Morgan joins me in the big story any second now because we want to talk about some appointments that were recently made by the Prime Minister and how they're viewing the reactions that are coming from various quarters within the society. And so in a few seconds, we'll be hearing from Marlon Morgan. Particularly, we're looking at the reappointment of Juliet Holness as Speaker of the House. And we're also looking at the reappointment of Tom Tavares-Finson as President of the Senate. Good morning and welcome to the big story. Marlon Morgan, how are you doing today? Good morning and welcome.
Hi, good morning, Richie. Let me say good morning to your listeners, both here in Jamaica and in the diaspora. And importantly, today is a big day.
Yes, sir.
19 is silver money in cash pot. We don't propose that it is silver money that, alone that will be coming your way. But on this year, Earth Strong, my brother, I must salute you, I must hail you, and wish for you a very, very happy birthday, Richie B.
No, I thank you for that, Marlon. Thank you very, very much. And those coins, however they come, we take them. You know what I mean? But people have been reacting, including the opposition, who came out with a statement. I remember playing it, I think, yesterday morning. Basically, they were saying they will not be supporting either Marissa Dalrymple Philibert or Juliet Holness to be reappointed as Speaker of the House. How do you respond to the concerns that have been raised?
Yeah. So, I mean, we live in a democracy. Jamaica prides itself on being a vibrant democracy, and as a government, we are respectful of and mindful of contending views, divergent perspectives. We view this project that we're on to continue to build Jamaica and develop this country of ours in the interest of Jamaican people. We view it in a particular way. We know that there are others out there whose perspectives may diverge from us. But on this specific matter, Richard B., I just want to be clear that on the 3rd of September, what we had was a contest between the two major political parties, and at the end of that exercise, a mandate was entrusted to us in the Jamaica Labour Party to take Jamaica forward for the next 5 years. It doesn't mean that we have license to be arrogant. It doesn't mean that we have license to be cavalier, but the people are reposing a degree of confidence in us. They have given us a mandate, and we are humbly in service to them, taking the country in a particular direction. Now, in the Westminster parliamentary systems, and based on the finest traditions of democracies around the world, it is the governing party that has, the prerogative residing with it, as it were, to make a determination as to whom the umpire of the parliament is, as to whom the Speaker of the House is. And the truth is, in conventional ways, you would typically have the government side moving the nomination as to Speaker and the opposition side seconding or endorsing that nomination. We had a departure from that yesterday because, to my mind, the parliamentary opposition, the PNP, have sought to signal from the very outset that they are inclined to seek to muscle and have their way, as it were, even in relation to those things that are properly the purview of the governing party. The truth of the matter is that, in wrapping up on this primary question, the truth of the matter, Richard B., is that all the persons who were put to the people of Jamaica and elected, any of the 63, any of the 35 on the government side, could have emerged as the umpire, because these are persons who are fit for purpose. They would have been put to the people of Jamaica, and the people of Jamaica would have elected them. So none of the 35 on the GLP side are in the House arbitrarily. None of the 28 on the PNP side are in the House arbitrarily. Juliet Holness, just like Marissa Dalrymple Philibert, and any other person on the GLP side of the House, are persons who would have been well placed to serve as the umpire of the proceedings in the House. As it has turned out, Juliet Holness has been re-elected to serve as Speaker. Her deputy is a gentleman who has been acquitting himself well over the years in his capacity as Deputy Speaker, a capacity to which he was elevated, I believe, in the past 2 or so years, Roy Clark from St. James Central. So we do not concur with the PNP that Juliet Holness is not well placed to serve. In fact, our position in the Jamaica Labour Party is diametrically opposed to that of the PNP on this matter, Richard.
Okay. Now, you are a member of the upper house. You're a senator. I want to ask you, Marlon, what role do you see the Senate playing in promoting transparency and accountability in government, particularly in light of recent, shall we say, even controversies in some instances? The role of the
short
Senate.
answer to be is
Yes.
a very important role, a very important and indispensable role, because the truth of the matter is that no member of the political class in Jamaica can come to their respective assignment at this juncture in September 2025 and not be mindful of the aspirations of the Jamaican people and, importantly, what it is that they value in terms of accountability, they value integrity, they value transparency in government and so on, and which is why persons like myself go out of our way in many instances to seek to be accessible to the press, in seeking to be accountable to the people of Jamaica, and in this third term of the Holness-led JLP government, it will be no different. Specifically for the Senate has the moniker, Richard B., of being the review chamber. Yeah, we are not a rubber stamp. The upper house of Parliament is where persons of a particular capacity sit. We are persons who are expected to, and indeed we are mandated to, be faithful to the Constitution and, importantly, vet pieces of legislation that come before us for deliberation with a fine-tooth comb. And that is why I am particularly heartened by this Senate that has emerged on both sides, because I am familiar with and I have friends on both sides of the aisle. Donna Scott Motley, she and I used to work together on the Breakfast Club some years ago. That was a morning radio program just like this one. There is young Cleveland Tomlinson, a gentleman for whom I have a lot of admiration as a talented youngster. Alan Bernard is a bigger brother of mine, a gentleman whose tutelage I would have been under when I was in the Department of Government at UEMONA. Yeah, we would have traveled to the All African Students Conference in South Africa and Namibia together, and so Alan is of that ilk, a sober and focused young man. And then on the government side, we have had 3 welcomed additions: Attorney at Law Juliet Tavares-Finson. We have a business leader and a corporate player in corporate Jamaica in DK Duncan.
Yes, Keith Duncan.
Keith Duncan, rather.
Yes.
Who is just exemplary in terms of his leadership in the corporate sector. And then we have esteemed counsel as well, Rose Bennett Cooper, a person with whom I would have served or under whom I served at a particular board of a particular public body.
But I want to zero in on Keith Duncan's appointment. Initially, that came as a surprise to me, in all honesty, and I think we were getting some reactions. I don't know, not formally, but persons within the People's National Party seemed also rather surprised. For the listeners who do not know, Keith Duncan, well-known businessman, business leader, is the son of the late Dr. D.K. Duncan, and even his sister, Patricia Duncan Sutherland, is currently the president of the PNP's Women's Movement. So it came as a surprise with that kind of background or affiliations that Keith was in fact appointed, and he obviously would have been hearing and seeing some of the reactions, and he came out in an interview that is published in today's newspaper saying, "I am a free thinker," and that's a very powerful statement. So it's quite interesting, that appointment, wouldn't you say?
I absolutely concur, Richard B., but beyond that, and even more than that, I would want to go on to say Keith Duncan's appointment as a government senator meaning someone who is now essentially in the ranks of the Jamaica Labour Party, speaks to and presents a profile in the maturing of the Jamaican democracy and, of course, the maturing of the minds of our people. No longer are we being wedded in a rigid way, as it were, to what people would consider respective clans or tribes, because Keith Duncan is indeed the son of, the late D.K. Duncan. He would have come from a strong PNP family and household in terms of his upbringing. But so important, Richie B, is Project Jamaica and this journey we are on as a country, and indeed the government, associates itself with being a people presiding over and superintending that journey. We pride ourselves on running and administering the affairs of Jamaica in such a way that Jamaica can attain its full potential and realize this great promise that it has. And that is why many persons, both in academia, in corporate Jamaica, the business community, of course, and elsewhere, look on and are heartened by what this Holness-led government has been doing these past 2 terms. And it's not surprising that people like, Keith Duncan, you would have had Nigel Clark, for example, leaving the private sector back in 2019 it was, and making himself available to serve as a Minister of Government, consequent on a by-election in St. Andrew Northwestern. So,
Don Webby as well. I mean, we remember Don Webby.
And Don Webby would have been a senator of ours, but he dates back as far as 2007, the Bruce Golding incumbency. But it is clear that you have Jamaicans who want to, offer themselves and are prepared, quite frankly, to make themselves available to serve in various capacities for which they may be well suited. And it gives us a clear reminder, it's a telling reminder, I believe, as to how we've matured politically. People are no longer fearful of being branded, as it were, or being labeled in ways that they would be fearful of as an individual.
Yeah, got you. A listener from New York is asking me, what happened to Dr. Sophia Longmore? Obviously, she was a senator, but she's not in this dispensation.
Yeah.
Now, let us take a look at the reappointment of Tom Tavares-Finson as Senate President. First of all, I believe it's the first time that we're having a father and son in those capacities at the same time. Isn't that correct?
Well, yes. I couldn't think back to a dispensation when we would have had a Senate President and an offspring of his, being in the chamber
at the same
serving
time.
At the same time.
Right.
So, I mean, it is an epochal moment. Just to be clear, though, these 2 gentlemen have been giving sterling service to the Jamaica Labour Party and more so Jamaica. Christian Tavares-Finson, like his father, is at the defense bar and has been distinguishing himself at the defense bar over many years. Yeah. And so in this incarnation now as a legislator, where he's going to be expected to pore over and, sift through pieces of legislation and make his own interventions in the Senate, I believe, as I said earlier in this interview, that he's well placed so to do. His father continues to marshal the affairs of the Senate with a steady and impressive hand in terms of just how judicious he is, how assertive he is, because, the temperature and the decibels can get a bit heated at times, but you still need to be able to command the authority and the respect of the chamber in, navigating even what may appear to be test the waters, Richard.
Speaking individually now, what would you say are some of your own priorities for the Senate's work in the coming months?
Well, no doubt there are some pieces of legislation that were already tabled, that will have to be retabled to the extent that the Parliament was dissolved a few weeks ago. They'll have to be retabled on the authority of the newly minted cabinet. Now, that is going to involve quite a number of things having to do with education reform and, other key matters, including crime-related, matters. For example, we had a matter the other day having to do with making, the penalty for offenses against children tougher because we know we have the scourge of criminality still, notwithstanding our 40% reduction in murders. But the murder of children, as it were in particular, is, tends to be quite shocking to our collective conscience and is one of those things that will continue to receive focused attention. But as you would have heard, Richard B., from the Prime Minister in his inaugural address when he took and subscribed the oath of office on Tuesday, in this third term of government, focused attention, or even more focused attention, will be placed on those matters that will serve to accelerate growth, because we have a number of things that are of paramount importance, addressing the productivity issues in the country, ensuring that the bureaucracy works efficiently and effectively, such that you do not have, corruption persisting and being as prevalent as it would have been in dispensations past. Infrastructure is a critical thing, which is why Richard B., the Prime Minister, has since renamed and is reconfiguring the ministry that was Economic Growth and Job Creation. That is now the Ministry of Economic Growth and Infrastructure Development, because as you move about the country and you canvass the people of Jamaica, road and water, and then you can consider housing as well. Road and water in particular are the two things that are uppermost in the minds and on the lips of the Jamaican people. And that is why this ministry is going to be focusing attention on, we see the Spark program as a flagship initiative in that regard. The ministry is going to be focusing attention on delivering water systems to people in their homes, but importantly as well, better constructing and rehabilitating or maintaining roads. Because one of the things we have had bedeviling us is that we build a road and then the road doesn't get, revisited in decades. That cannot be sustainable, that cannot be tenable. And that is why we're going to be having a structured regime of road rehabilitation and maintenance going forward.
Great stuff. Thank you very much for your time and your thoughts this morning, as usual, Marlon, and you have a great day. All the best.
All the best, Richard. And do have a drink on me, my brother.
All right, we'll do for sure.
Continue to have a good birthday and even a better weekend.
All right. Thank you so much. We appreciate that. All the